Welcome back to Rated Radio with your hosts, Rayburn Alexander and Shane Wyndham. And somebody else here at the table. What's up, Joseph?
What's up? It's me again.
I'm a little scared for Joseph to be here today. I apparently...
The biggest shit-eating grin on his face of all time.
Like I said, I'm a little nervous because I apparently like to put my foot in my mouth when it comes to Joseph. So... yeah, today should be interesting.
Let's see how it goes.
Yeah. So Shane, what was the Billboard hit that we covered this week?
Well, just to be clear, we're going to do this Billboard thing, and then we're going to get to the meat and potatoes here, as it were, which is Alice in Chains and Days of the New. Mm-hmm. Joseph could not miss the opportunity, correct?
Right.
Had to be here.
Yep.
Represent
Yes.
Lane.
Yes.
Super excited.
100%.
The song that we covered this month was Hours and Hours by Muni Long.
Lame.
Is that right? Do you know that one?
No.
No?
Lame.
At first I thought he said Lane. Like, okay, he's just going to be Tourette's boy over there, just Lane. Lane, Alice in Chains. You know what I'm
Lame.
saying?
Yeah. You make him sound like Rain Man.
What'd you think, Rayburn?
Well, hot damn, this one is a banger. I'm a sucker for anything that I can not only grind to, but it's so reminiscent of 90s, 2000s R&B bangers at the same time. Much appreciated. Mooney, I don't know what the fuck. I will be playing this one for hours and hours.
You said grinding.
I know, I
think
lost
everyone
you.
here in the room just is picturing you grinding now.
By myself, in a corner.
Kind of just on a chair, since that's what you're sitting on. It's a little weird.
I grind doorknobs.
I
Sounds
stopped doing that
painful.
when I was a teenager.
What did you think about it, Shane?
This song has strong early 2000s R&B vibes. It's soulful and well produced. The vocals are soothing yet powerful. And it's a total fuck track, yeah. A bit repetitive, some of the lyrics need help, and there's almost no break in the vocal wall throughout the entire track, but I still think it warrants 5 stars for meeting that baseline of easy listenability.
Thank you for giving me that validation. Let's roll this damn intro.
Yeah, because it's all about you. On to the chopping block they go, Joseph. How do you feel about today's matchup?
Well, I do feel that I'm going to need, because, like I said, I know pretty much everything, but I don't remember what albums we were covering.
Yeah, he's been busy, so he's got no notes.
Yeah,
Just nothing to read from.
I'm going in blind.
Flying blind. That's all right. That's how we do things.
But this was your matchup. Your hand-picked matchup.
Yes, 100%. I mean, like I said, I know every album. I just don't know which ones we're covering. So, but you say the names, right? So I'll get it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So in case anyone was wondering, Joseph is the expert, so completely ignore what our dumbasses have to say about these two artists.
I'm kind of going to agree with that take. And Rayburn's in charge of...
I am. Say that again.
Rayburn's in charge.
Thank you. All right. The first album that we covered by Alice in Chains was Facelift from 1990. This was my top album.
Agreed.
Woohoo!
Yay!
Let me see, because I don't have notes.
Okay.
So I have to remember, like, oh, you're gonna hear my...
That's okay.
Boop, beep, boop, boop, pop.
We have R2-D2 or C-3PO in the studio with us today.
Both are present.
Mm-hmm.
Telling us how they feel.
Facelift. Yes, this wouldn't be my top album.
Okay.
Okay, wouldn't be his top album. Got it. I gave it 4 5s out of 12 tracks.
11.
You gave it 11 5s?
11 5s.
Wow. So close. My top track was Sunshine. Did you have 5?
Yeah, I mean, I would give this one 4 or 5.
4 5s?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Man, she's cheesing big time.
Yeah. Well, I have such a bad track record with Joseph, and I'm starting out strong.
She's clinging to this little bit of happiness as long as she can.
Let me do this, all right? My top track was Sunshine.
Mine was, hilariously enough, considering Joseph's situation today, my top track was I Can't Remember.
Well, my top track would be Man in the Box.
A solid choice.
Yeah. My bottom track, I Can't Remember. I know.
How?
Just did.
Do you listen for something that I'm going to like and just be like, yep, there it is. Fuck
You
him.
know what? The same could be said for you,
No.
dear friend.
I don't.
Okay. Well, then I don't either.
Sea of Sorrow was my one kind of disappointment on the album.
That was the one that didn't land a 5.
Yep.
The only one.
My bottom would be Real Thing.
For me, this is grunge metal, reminiscent of Nirvana meets Metallica, kind of like a love child in between. They seem to stick to the same song flow and riffs. Guitar is absolutely my favorite part, and it feels like I'm making out with a human ashtray, and I'm kind of into it.
Yeah, you heard that, right? It wasn't just me.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out that.
A human ashtray, okay.
A human that smells and tastes like cigarette smoke.
Suffice it to say that this group is much more than their hits, and this album is way more diverse than I anticipated. It deserves to be every bit as popular as anything released by Nirvana, Pearl Jam, Stone Temple Pilots, etc. This is what made grunge mainstream, and it's also tinged with infusions of metal, funk, and blues. I hate that I'm just now hearing this in its entirety, but I think most music lovers will be floored by how surprisingly good it is.
You wrote a whole eulogy.
That's what he does. He tries to make everyone else look bad.
I was waiting on the tears.
At no point when I'm writing anything do I try to make anybody look bad.
Hey, Shane, guess what? I'm fucking with you.
Yeah, okay.
Interestingly enough, you know that's not actually their first album.
Yeah.
Okay.
They had
As
was
long
it
as you know
an EP?
that. Yeah, it's like Sap. It was an EP. It does have some stuff that they didn't release on any other album. It's only like 6 or 7 songs.
And technically, if we're going down this rabbit hole, Lane was part of another Alice in Chains prior to this, right?
Yes.
It was like a glam metal
Yes.
Alice in Chains, like Guns N' Roses.
Oh, Alice
N.
and
Yeah.
or Alice N.
Yeah, it was
Got it.
just an N, like a big N.
Well, speaking of like early careers, originally they went by a couple different names, consisting of Fuck, just the word Fuck, nice,
Solid.
Mothra, and
Also approved.
Diamond Lie. You may not know him.
It's
as
unique.
Alice in
I don't know
Chains.
what to think about
yeah.
it, but
I think Mothra was my favorite. I
Yeah.
thought that was badass.
I like the name they have. So.
I like Fuck.
I like Fuck.
Interestingly enough, though, obviously they are 90s and from Seattle. So
Yeah. What
They
is
were
that?
the first group to actually break through from this scene.
no.
Like
Well,
to
yeah.
have the chart-topping
Well,
album.
I'll
They're-
just go ahead and say it that they're loads better than Nirvana, and I don't care who gets
I would
upset about it.
agree. I mean, if you go back and listen to our Nirvana episode, I don't necessarily think Nirvana warrants the attention that they get a lot of the time, because there were tons of bands that were doing that grunge Seattle sound even before Nirvana's Nevermind came out. I mean, Alice in Chains, Facelift's from 1990. Nevermind came out in 91.
I'm just going to say that those two groups are very different.
They are. I mean, they're different. I just say that because everybody like,
Lumps them.
yeah, especially when you say like,
I did.
the Unplugged album. Like, you know, I know we're not talking about Unplugged here, but
Oh, we did.
Alice in Chains way better than Nirvana Unplugged, I think.
Those are pretty similar sounding albums.
It's just very,
We didn't cover Alice in Chains
Very
Unplugged,
real.
did we?
Yes, we did.
Oh, okay. So we did Nirvana and Alice in Chains. Okay.
Yeah, we technically made money off of Joseph just for covering
That's
that.
right. That's right. Thank you,
oh
Joseph.
yeah, yeah. I had to. I was like, oh, I have to see what they say.
I showed up like the day after it was released, or maybe the day of something. I went over to his house, and he's just screaming at me before I can even get in the door. How the fuck do you get this to turn on? Like, I'm subscribed. I paid my $1.
Yeah, I ran
Why
up to
won't it
your
let
car.
me in?
Yeah. See, this is the problem with knowing people that buy our shit. If they have if they have an issue, they're gonna let us know about it.
I'm digging, and eventually he walks back into the room and says, "Oh, I figured it out. I just forgot to click on the terms and
Yeah.
conditions."
Hey, by the way, I'm still paying that $1, so you're welcome.
We appreciate it.
Yes. Thank you.
You bought me a beer.
Well, it's been a few months now, so I've bought you a few.
Well, beers are expensive.
All right. Well, let's move on to the next album that we covered by Alice in Chains. This is Dirt from 1992.
Woohoo!
This was my middle album.
Agreed.
If memory serves me correctly, this is definitely my top album.
All right.
No doubt about it.
I think most of the big critics would agree with you.
I gave it 3 5s out of 13 tracks.
7.
10.
My top track was Down in a Hole.
Mine was Rooster.
Mine would be Down in a Hole as well.
My bottom track.
I love the song. Don't get me wrong. I think the acoustic is equally as good.
Yeah.
So anyway,
My bottom track was Godsmack.
Untitled.
Mine's Untitled. That's I don't even know what it is.
I get Godsmack too, though. It's very different.
Mm-hmm.
Like sometimes you hear that Alice in Chains sound and you think, okay, well, you saw the song title and thought, this is where Godsmack comes from.
Yeah.
They're just building on the sound. And then you turn on the song Godsmack. Sounds nothing like Godsmack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is faster paced, more produced, still grunge, but cleaner grunge. Changes direction quite a bit here. Experiments a little bit with different sounds, but I did dig on the more harmonies that they had here too.
This album's more rock forward in the riff department, crunchier, if you will. Unfortunately, it's also plagued by some odd or uninteresting transitions and a few poor mixing choices. Though not as solid as their debut, at least half of this LP is packed with stronger hits than most rock groups ever manage more than once.
Tell us what you love about this
Ooh,
album,
can I
Joseph.
go now?
Yes.
Okay, so this is when heroin started.
For
Say no more.
who?
Yeah, so this is when he started getting really messed up on heroin, Lane. And they also, interestingly enough, I went and looked at I've watched tons of interviews and stuff, and the guy who did the album said Lane would come in and like go to the bathroom and obviously do his thing. He would come out. He would do the song in one take and would not redo it. He said, that's your take. That's it. That's all you got.
Wow.
So it's like almost this whole album, if not the whole album, is all one take on Lane's vocals. And it's insane. I know that live, which was the last album anyway, when they did Man in a Box live, through the chorus part, they had, I watched this vocal coach do everything, like rate his vocals and look at his notes and everything. So apparently there's parts where he's hitting 2 notes, I think it's 2 notes higher than Mariah Carey.
Yeah.
Ooh.
He's like, dude, he's insane. No one gave him the credit that he really was. Is like, because everyone's like, oh, he's a rock vocalist. Like, that's just what it is. But when you dig into it, like, he's actually singing like real notes and they're insane. Like, if you go back to the Alice in Chains, like back before this whole thing started, they have live footage from him there. And there's that same vocal coach. She's looking through all the stuff and researching everything. There's a note that he hits that no one's ever hit. They call it the impossible note.
Yep.
Watch out, Mariah.
I was like,
He
what?
coming for your brand.
Like, he's insane.
I've actually gone down this rabbit hole myself.
Did you?
And
Okay.
yeah, vocal coaches definitely they don't seem wildly impressed when they first hear it.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, it's kind of nasally, and then just
Yeah.
the power and his ability to sustain a note and
Yes.
to flex and sustain in those others. And actually, speaking of stories, because I do know he would get really upset with the producers if they tried to make him do a second take of most
Yes.
of his vocals. But what they did succeed in was asking him to layer. It's like that's part of how they would get their melodies. They'd ask him, can we get another melody? Like, can you harmonize to this? Just do something on top of it. And they would do that like 4 or maybe 6 times and just pick their favorites among them. And that's how they wound up with those super haunting melodies that you get. I mean, I realize that the guitarist is...
Yeah, Jerry Cantrell was...
Yeah.
When,
who's also a beast, by the way. We're not giving him credit as like the primary songwriter in the group.
Well, speaking of, Cantrell wrote your favorite from this album.
Yeah.
Rooster was written by Cantrell.
For his father.
Yeah, his dad who served in Vietnam. It's about his relationship with his dad.
It was really, really tough to pick a favorite on this album, by the way. Which is saying something because I always loved Rooster so much.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of good tracks on that album. What's funny about, real quick, how Lane became the singer is he was in another band, and Jerry was in between projects, and he was trying to start something different, and he had a full band together, but they didn't have a singer. They wanted Lane to sing for them, and he kept telling them, no, I'm not going to do it. No, I'm not going to do it. No, I'm not going to do it. So what they would do is they would bring terrible singers to the house, and he said they got this one person who, like, would wear, like, full dresses and, like, makeup and, like, long hair and, like, would sing like a female. And I guess they were auditioning this person, And Lane finally stood up and said, I'll do it, dude. Just don't bring anybody else over to the house. And so that's how he became the singer for Alice in Chains.
Nice.
So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Something interesting too. We normally go through the albums way faster than this. Sorry.
No.
Um,
Take your time, dude. I'm
but
not
this-
in a rush.
It's an interesting group to look at the historicity of. Clearly, Lane eventually dies, overdose.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the bassist that was with him
Yeah, Mike.
last. Yeah, he got in a kind of a fight with.
Right.
And Lane told him, don't leave like this, man. Don't leave like that. And that was the last words anybody ever heard him speak. But then that bassist was actually hanging around with, I think, the guitarist from Days of the New, like right before he ended up passing away.
Well,
And similar types of circumstances or whatever. They were talking about doing a united type of thing, Days in the New and Alice in Chains.
yeah, the guitarist is, interestingly enough, I mean, I don't know about like if they had two guitarists. I don't research Days of the New that much, but I know the lead singer did most of the guitar, especially the acoustic, and he is amazing. But anyway, we'll get into that here in a little while. He got hooked on heroin too, but he's not dead. So that's why I don't know if there's another guitarist or something that maybe died. But he was on celebrity rehab and stuff. But Mike did die, if that's what you're talking about.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, yeah. He died from pills. He was on I think it was celebrity rehab as well. And he basically just got real depressed after Lane died because, he told him, don't leave me like this. But yet Lane told him because he was going to call the cops because when he went over there, when they found Lane only weighed 90 pounds.
Holy shit.
And he had been dead for 2 weeks. And there was money everywhere and heroin and spoons and syringes. He was like laying on syringes.
Homie tried to call the cops and he told him that
And he said, if you call the cops, I'll never speak to you again. So
I'm beginning to think that maybe we just need to do heroin for a little while.
No.
You know what I mean?
He's just trying to lose weight over there.
Just to boost our success. Some of us are actually writing music behind the scenes in places, and
yeah, he became just such a hermit. They did 2 songs right before he died, and they said that they had to basically beg him to come out and do the 2. It's off a Music Box or whatever.
Okay.
When they did that album, the first track and the last track are
like unreleased demo type things.
That was the last thing they did together. They talked him into coming out, but they said he was like a hermit. He just lived in his apartment, dude. Nobody recognized him. He would go to some comic book store and wear hoodies. People would be like, Lane, is that you? And he just didn't want anything to do with anybody. So what they did, how they kept track of him being alive, was him spending money. So his mom said, I haven't heard from Lane in a while. And the guy, his financial person, said, well, he hasn't spent money in 2 weeks.
Damn.
So they knew that something was wrong. And obviously being that rich, he tried to get away from drugs. But they said basically when you're in that industry and you got so much money, you don't have to go get drugs. The drugs come knocking on your door. Yeah. Because those people want to make money.
Yeah.
And so,
Well, Shane, you're going to love this fact. I'm going to lift us a little bit from the sad discussion that we just had about heroin and people dying of drug overdose.
Go ahead, sunshine.
Thank you. Speaking of Man in the Box, since Joseph mentioned it, do you know what other song by another artist inspired Man in the Box?
It's going to be a no.
Anybody?
Well, I can't say that I know.
Living on a Prayer by John Bon Jovi.
Oh, I'll take that as a win. Mrs. I Hate Bon Jovi.
Jury's still out.
That's okay. One of my friends posted recently about how much she hates that song and she's pregnant.
Which one?
And so her Living on a Prayer.
Okay.
But her husband knows that she hates that song. So he walks around singing like we're halfway there.
Oh, throughout the pregnancy?
She's midway through.
Got it.
Yeah. Anyway, last album.
All right, moving on to the last album, which is the self-titled album, Alice in Chains, from 1995. This was my bottom album.
Obviously, I agree.
Yeah.
That's hard.
You put them kind of on equal footing?
It's not your
with
top.
The first? Or with all of them?
No, I mean, it's not my top.
Yeah.
It's just down there with Facelift. I
Okay.
mean, they run very, very close. But I could say this is my bottom album.
I gave it 2 5s out of 12 tracks.
5.
I would give it 4. Yeah, 4. Sorry.
It's okay.
Trying to figure it out.
It reminded me of Beavis. Something about it. Have you seen the Fire episode in the new season?
Probably. But I'm not sure, but I watched a few of them.
Okay.
My top track was Shame on You.
Heaven Beside You. I mean, it's very predictable. Sorry, but that's what it was.
That is a good one, but Sludge Factory would be my top.
See, I much preferred the acoustic. I was really hoping it was going to be a banger because the acoustic is so fucking good.
Yeah.
Or the unplugged, excuse me, whatever you want to call it.
My bottom track was Nothing Song.
Agreed.
God Am. That would be my bottom.
It sounded super corny when I first heard it, but the more I listened to it, the more I liked it. Speaking of Beavis and Butthead, it did kind of remind me of they do that damn joke, right? In Beavis and Butthead at some point. It's kind of what it reminded me of. Like they're trying to get away with saying goddamn.
Goddamn.
Not God am.
Yeah.
It's clever lyrically if you look at it.
Yeah. Who picked the albums here? You, Joseph?
No.
Technically, I did because we already covered the Unplugged.
Okay.
I think this album wouldn't have been here. It would have been the Unplugged, right?
Yeah. I mean, the only thing I said is just go earlier because obviously they got William as their new singer, and I wanted to do Lane stuff.
Well, my question is, why no Jar of Flies?
Jar of Flies
EP.
was a good album.
Oh, okay. Because when I was looking at the discography, I was like, oh yeah, Jar of Flies. Why didn't you pick it? Oh, that makes sense. Okay.
Yeah, we don't do EPs on the main show.
On the main show.
Maybe in the bonus episodes or the season finales.
Tune into those.
What are your thoughts?
It starts off strong, like Guns N' Roses meets Marilyn Manson for me. A bit bland throughout the middle of this album as it starts to trail off. Gets repetitive. And it actually reminds me a lot of the band from Rockstar. You know that Mark Wahlberg movie, Steel Dragon?
I haven't seen it.
Totally reminds me.
Somebody out there knows.
Dad, if you're listening, stand up and shout, man. Come on.
This album was brighter, slower, and less punchy than the albums which came before it. And it's a strange fit, it's like grunge written mostly for people listening in the full summer sun. I got REM vibes in more than a few spots and had trouble connecting with much of it. The lyrics are solid. The production is really different at times, especially in the vocal layering. I didn't think any songs were particularly bad, but the fives were weaker than they've previously been, and the last two tracks are too long, even though I like them. An odd effort that I didn't love. I mostly blame the direction of the production, though, because the acoustics for these tracks are all killer.
This is when heroin really kicked in.
Yes, and this was actually his last, right?
No, because
Studio release?
Jar of Flies came after.
Did it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That's my next thing. Jar of Flies was not an EP. It was an album.
Oh.
The only
that's what I
reason you
thought.
probably think of it that way is because it's like a 7 or 8 track album.
Oh, okay.
They didn't, like I said, heroin really kicked in. So
Heroin's a hell of a drug,
it was
man.
really hard to keep him
Contained in one spot to do an album.
Yeah, like even on the recordings, they said he would get up and leave the studio for like hours and then just pop back up. Like if he ran out of drugs, he had to just leave. You know what I mean? So it was very hard to keep him, where he was. The Unplugged, like if you ever watch it, you can tell. That's like, they did that not too long before he went into his apartment, spent a couple years and died.
Yeah. I would say, just before we move on from this album, that I didn't talk about it here, but Frogs
Awesome.
really started to get under my skin in a good way. Like that song sticks in my head. I'll wake up in the morning and it will just be there, like the melodies and everything. It's wild. Rayburn,
Yes.
what else do you have for us?
The only other thing that I wanted to mention about Alice in Chains is some of the other bands that influenced them. Some of those bands include Motley Crue, Wasp, Van Halen, Ozzy, Twisted Sister, Anthrax, and Slayer. So I had a feeling Joseph was going to come to the table with like hard-hitting facts. So I wanted to reserve those for the expert.
One more thing. Sludge Factory, because you did say you listened to the Unplugged.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't think they did it on the album. They basically cut that out. But again, if you watch it, they had to start that song over 3 times. So that song was written about the record company, about how it's just the industry will just basically milk you of everything, make you, just take everything away from you pretty much. Like it was very blunt. And the record label had front row seats that night. So Lane was really nervous to do that song with them watching him because everybody knew what it was about, obviously. So
with regard to some of the influences, I know Jerry Cantrell, I always wanted to say he was a big part of some other things. He has played with damn near every musician in the business.
Yeah.
He wrote and recorded some songs for one of Ozzy's releases. I know that much. Yeah, so he's a beast, and we overlook a little bit. His riff work is spectacular. Like, I think today there's a lot of guitar bliss in both of these artists. If you go into it strictly for the guitar, you're not going to be disappointed. I will say that the music makes me feel like I'm hearing Guns N' Roses and Pantera bleed out in a blender.
Yeah.
All right.
One more thing you should check out is Another Brick in the Wall from that. It's on a movie soundtrack.
They covered
The
it?
Faculty or something.
Oh.
It's Lane on vocals.
Oh.
It's not Alice in Chains, but it features Lane on vocals.
What was the
You'll
group?
hear him.
He was part of a few different things. Is it Mad Season?
Mad Season,
Yeah.
that's his other band, yes. They're very mellow.
Yeah,
though,
I think the only
but
thing
it's
I know
amazing.
is like River of Deceit.
Yeah,
and
they're
that their
awesome.
big hit.
They're awesome.
Though I've lived through and loved the 90s, grunge is not among my favorite genres of music. There's something enduringly haunted about this group's style, however, and I'm happy to now know more of their music to understand some of why they continue to garner such reverence in the music community. And it's pretty wild to see just how split most fans are about which album contains their best material. That speaks to the uniqueness of their style, the twin vocals, the recognizable guitar tone, the bluesy bass, and noticeable drumming pathwork. This is a group that stands out in a genre which tends to blend. I listened to the self-titled 4 times before settling my feelings and will be returning to Facelift routinely. That doesn't happen with just any band.
Dude, if I don't go pee right now,
Go for it.
I'm going to pee in your floor.
Well, now that we've unlocked these chains, why don't we take a break?
We need to take
bit?
a break.
And we're back. Shane, what was our top list for this month?
It was one of yours,
It was.
and you went with 60s Sunday Soul, which seems super restrictive.
Mm-hmm.
So I chose to not let it restrict me. I
Okay.
just thought of like rainy, calm, cleaning Sunday music from the 60s. Like
Okay.
shit I would clean a house to that's
Yeah.
60s music.
Yeah, that's kind of my vibe, but it's not raining on my Sunday. It's a nice day on my Sunday.
And what do you have?
My pick for this list is Baby by Carla Thomas. There's no greater reward on a Sunday than waking up and opening those curtains after a nice breakfast to start up a productive day of preparing for the coming week. It is about the only thing that can make the upcoming work week not seem so bleak. So, my church consists of dancing and singing around the house as I fold, vacuum, and meal prep. And I may even modify the words of this track on occasion. My dog's name is Maybe. Figure it out.
I see.
What about you, Shane?
I went with When a Man Loves a Woman by Percy Sledge. Totally not what I would think to pick as like a storytelling track normally, but when I started looking at the list, it made sense. Growing up poor, I remember great Christmases and horrible Christmases. Rarely was there an in-between. And before I tell this story, understand that most Christmases were wonderful, the result of hardworking people pouring everything they had into making it joyfully abundant for us kids. The worst childhood Christmas I can recall, though, was in my teen years. I knew my mom was broke, and I knew my sisters were getting the better end of things. After all, I was the oldest and got lots of mom's money spent on my hobbies all year long, but it still hurt that Christmas to open nothing but presents I'd never have put on a wish list. The two I recall most being an ugly sweater, which was too small for me, and Percy Sledge's greatest hits. Though it's no longer a bad memory for me, more of a teachable one, As with most things, I wish I'd been more appreciative. It's difficult to imagine my mom struggling to come up with anything for us after a year of nonstop struggle. Walking the aisles of that discount store in Justin, Texas, probably trying not to cry because of the inadequate options available to her. No partner to help. My spoiled fat ass may have known little then about when a man loves a woman, but I damn sure got plenty to reflect on when it comes to what a woman goes through trying to raise a man. By the way, I made individual playlists on Spotify, so it's easier to find what I compile. You're welcome, Rayburn.
About time.
There are 60 songs on my 60s playlist, and if you don't know what real oldies sound like, you're in for a real treat with this one.
I'm going to have to go and listen to your list because I am very intrigued.
I just want to say 100% she was crying.
Yeah, totally. We all pictured it when he said
with my
it.
mom, right?
She's a very emotional person, but she's also a very wonderful person.
It's one of those things. I know memory is flawed. Like I wanted to write, and she was crying before we even opened presents that year. Like already apologizing, but I don't remember if that was actually the case. So,
all right.
That's a good break.
That's a good break. Talking about your mother crying. Let's move on to talk about Days of the New. Perfect timing.
Bling. Bling. Man, it seems like neither one of y'all know what a silence is.
First of all,
I'm kidding.
It's over there and it's on vibrate.
I'm always scared if I turn the sound on my phone that it's going to make noises I've never heard and just freak me the hell out.
Like, come on, go check that booty.
Sorry.
I wish.
These noises from my phone, bing, and stuff. Yeah, it's going to make this podcast.
Yeah, I know.
All right.
I know.
Yeah. Oh, and my stomach. Oh.
We're gonna get fans.
Are you hungry, bro? I didn't know
We're
you were
gonna get
hungry.
fans in the comment on YouTube that was like, only here for the stomach gurgles. Thanks, Joseph.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Never put your phone on silent.
All right, let's talk about the first album that we covered by Days of the New. All of these albums are going to be self-titled, but they're different colors. So we're just going to call them the yellow album, the green album, so on and so forth. So the first album that we covered by Days of the New.
They're also numbered like 1, 2, and 3 or
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah. Anyway, the first album that we covered by Days of the New was their yellow album from 1997. This was my middle album.
This was actually my bottom album. Now you're just being a smart ass.
This would be my top album.
All right. I gave it 0 5s out of 12 tracks.
There's a bonus track.
Are you counting the bonus track? We need to establish this
Individually.
after we get off.
The only reason you're talking about the bonus track is because of what it's called.
No, but that was an interesting title considering it's an instrumental. Okay, there are 13 tracks if you count the bonus track.
Okay, because I think we've run into this problem. I don't count the bonus track as an individual track because sometimes it'll be an extension of
Or
the
hidden
last
track, I guess is what we're saying. And there are a lot of albums released where they say bonus track, but it's the only version of the album that was ever released. So was it really a bonus if there's no way to get it without that extra song on the end?
But who's going to say the title?
You go ahead. It was the
The boner
track.
Boner track, yeah.
So out of 13, I gave 8 5s.
Well, then out of 13, I gave 0, so it didn't really change anything.
I'm
Joseph?
giving this 4 5s.
My top track was the one that they're probably known the most for, which is Touch, Peel, and Stand.
Whimsical.
Touch, Peel, and Stand.
I like the song, don't get me wrong.
It's a good song. My bottom track is Freak.
The Downtown. Although I will say Freak threw me off because I wouldn't say it normally about some of the stuff that this group is doing here, but this actually does sound like a knockoff take on Silverchair's Freak. I couldn't stop thinking about it when they got to the chorus.
Bottom track, The Downtown. I couldn't make it through it.
Fucking A.
No.
It's a weirdly happy sound in a Alice in Chains-esque album.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
For me, this is alternative rock. It can sometimes be hard to understand lyrically. They're most known for Touch, Peel, and Stand. Similar sounding artists for me include Soundgarden, Nirvana, and Alice in Chains, who we just talked about. They're kind of bland. Here, songs run on. Repetitive strumming of those higher chords was a tad bit annoying.
You just hit a nerve.
I was going to say...
serious nerve. There's 2 guitarists at the table. Repetitive strumming. This is some of the most complex guitar I've ever heard in my life.
I knew it would happen
He
eventually.
is one of the greatest guitar. He even has classical, he does classical
training.
guitar.
Yeah.
that's what makes them.
Yeah.
I
Is
still
that
prefer
guitar playing.
Alice in Chains guitarist.
All right, let her
I'm
finish.
gonna leave it there.
Let
I'm
her
done.
finish. We're
I'm
Kanye West
done.
and this Taylor Swift over here. You're done?
First of all, fuck off. Second of all right, I'm done. It was mainly, actually, no, I'm not done. Because the where I found it the most disturbing was Freak. The repetitive strumming and those higher chords are annoying to me.
Okay.
Now I'm done.
So it was one song. It wasn't.
Yeah, I wrote an arrow. I probably should have clarified
yeah,
that.
because I
Freak,
took it as
in
the
general.
entire
No, not in general,
band.
just on
Like,
that song. But I still gave it 0.5, so.
And now for my eulogy.
Here we go.
Think STP meets Creed with a lot of Alice in Chains vocal mimicry. The dark acoustic guitar buff in me loves the instrumental bass of this LP. It's closer to folk than metal though, and I suspect that won't be everyone's cup of grunge tea. I'm not in love with the limited vocals, but was surprised by its solid sound, lyrics, and song structures. Hell of a debut if you're in the mood for unplugged rock. And literally the biggest difference, none of this is electric guitar.
Yeah,
It's all like a clean acoustic sound.
It's all acoustic.
Yeah.
And he's actually playing an acoustic. So I listened to a bunch of their stuff, and they have like very few electric songs, but just imagine he plays and sings this at the same time, bro. Like he plays and sings it at the same time. That seems impossible.
Rayburn looks like the disgruntled aunt at a family reunion. You know, like that
Am I sitting over here
70-year-old
holding my
aunt
purse?
when someone starts talking about smoking weed as a teenager, you know, and she just
No, this was not my bottom album, so I know it's going to get worse, and I'm going to just really offend Joseph.
That's okay.
So here we go. Moving on to the next album, which was Days of the New, their Green album from 1999. This was my bottom track.
Which is 2. Days
Which
of
is
the
2.
New 2.
The New 2.
It's your bottom album or
my
track?
It's my bottom album.
Okay. It's my top.
Okay. Joseph?
This would be middle.
Okay. I gave it 0.5s out of 14 tracks.
8.
3.
My top track was Take Me Back Then.
Last one.
Weapon and the Wound.
That's a fucking good song.
Mm-hmm.
And my bottom track was...
So is Rayburn's, by the way. Just go ahead.
Oh, mine?
Your bottom track.
Thanks, Shane. My bottom track was Longfellow.
Intro.
Mine too.
Okay, so for me, the reason why Longfellow falls in the bottom is because it sounds like the Rugrats background music. The womp 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 ba ba, you know what I'm talking about. This reminds me a bit of Primus at times, and we all know if you listen back to the Primus episode how I feel about Primus. Gets a bit experimental with song structures here. Interesting, but still a bit strange. Southern alternative rock at times, and actually, they include a female backing vocalist. Does anybody know who that female backing vocalist is?
No.
The female backing vocalist on this album was actually Nicole Scherzinger of the Pussycat Dolls.
That's different.
Exactly. That's what I thought too.
Loosen up them buttons.
Mm-hmm.
You can't tell.
I mean, you can once you know who it is, and it makes sense, but this was before, obviously she got put in that group. So I thought that was extremely interesting.
I felt like all 3 of these albums were really different in a way that I haven't really felt when I listened to 3 albums in a row since I'd listened to, I think it's Boys Like Girls.
Hold on. I'm not done.
I was going to let you finish. I hadn't even said anything.
Are you about to get into Primus's repetitive bass strumming?
No, but I am going to jump to another topic that Shane so loves.
My name is Mud.
This reminds me of Sgt. Pepper in a way. Like, it takes inspiration from Native American and Southern sounds rather than the Indian culture, whereas Sgt. Pepper did.
Now for something fully out of left field. This wild-ass album feels like Blues Traveler working with Creed. Major Pucifer vibes? Is that how you say the name of that group?
I hear it's Pucifer. That's what a bunch of people say. I don't know.
Major Pucifer or Pucifer vibes?
Yeah,
However you say it.
Y'all quit pussyfooting around. Let's go.
Stripped guitar is still the focal point. There are banjos and symphonic keys and shit like that too. If Nickelback was experimental, it would sound something like this. Not perfect, but I'm here for it. Every bit as novel as the year 1999.
Joseph, do you have anything you want to say about it?
No, I think I'm good to go.
Okay, I'm just checking.
He's overwhelmed by all the things he has to say to you right now.
I don't know. I told you I knew it was coming. Next album that we covered was their Red album, or album number 3. Is it 3?
Red album.
It is the third album. Yes.
Thank you.
Oh, you meant
Everybody wants
which
to
one was
correct me.
released?
The minute that I do it, nobody's paying attention. This album's from 2001, and it's my top album.
Middle.
Obviously, my bottom. I just made you wait for that.
Thank you.
I had a feeling this was going to be your bottom, by the way. A little more pop, like pop rock.
Yeah.
Perfect for Rayburn. I give it 0 5s out of 13 tracks.
9.
I would give it 1.
My top track was Die Born.
Giving In.
Mine is Fighting with Clay,
I like
which is like one of their
Actual electric tracks. Yeah.
And my bottom track was Where Are You?
Hidden track. Literally what it's called. Hidden track.
Mine would be Words.
All right, they go back to the rock roots here. That may be where I catch the electric guitar a little bit, but they did acoustic on the first album, so I don't know. This is the final album of new music from the band until 2021. Still a bit repetitive. The only explicit album from the band, all other previous contributions were quote-unquote family-friendly. The lead singer is easier to understand versus the first album, and I say more acoustic guitar here, so really, don't trust a fucking thing about what I'm saying, because I really have no idea.
So you didn't like Sheriff in the Room? You don't like those lyrics? That type of singing?
That's another one of their hits, by the way.
Did you just say Sheriff in the Room?
Yeah, see, you didn't understand it.
Yeah,
There you go.
That's even the name of the song. She didn't catch that. Yeah. She was down a hole. You know what I mean?
Oh my God.
No, I think what happens with you is like a collective.
God, I'm getting psychoanalyzed.
How is this entire music coming across to me? Not like how is this one instrument being played right now?
I'm not a musician.
You look for a totality of grooves, I think, more than people like Joseph and I, right? We will focus in on great drums or a great guitar and allow whatever rhythm's happening there to just kind of guide us through.
I focus on vibes, man.
Yeah, I pretty
That's what
much
I'm trying to
separate
say.
everyone in the band. Like, I have my favorite singers, I have my favorite drummers, and I have my favorite guitarists. And they may not be in the same band at all.
Isn't there some website or something you can like collectively throw things to? No, actually, I got an email from Spotify at one point.
Spotify will put together your
Yeah, but it's just
band.
a list. I actually thought it was like some AI thing that takes their sound and like melds them.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Which is funny because Shane, you actually did that before Spotify did it in one of your books about formulating your own super band.
Yes, I did.
Yeah, you did.
You'll see it a lot in the world.
Yeah,
All of my unique ideas that never make it big.
I know.
The artists just buy my shit and then rip it off.
I know.
Or I'm just not that original and everybody else thinks of the shit too. Whatever.
Moving on.
I now know exactly where Daughtry got his debut sound. Though more complex than Daughtry, this is less complex than the other Days of the New LPs we've heard. It's also more southern pop in terms of style. However, the guitar is more electric in tonality here than it's previously been. Nickelback, Creed, Stone Temple Pilots all come to mind while listening. Repetition, especially in the choruses, holds this effort back, much like the other albums. And if not for that factor, I think I'd be singing some very high praises for this group's skill and stylistic prowess. Quite a ride.
Woo!
Yeah, the only thing is, since she mentioned the new album from 2021, so that album did not do well. And he almost killed himself.
Really?
Because there was a lot of, you would just have to read about it.
He was
There's
dealing
a lot.
with alcohol.
Yeah, drugs too.
And drugs. And he had, one of the reasons why they split up is in 2014, Meeks was unable to perform due to intoxication, and they essentially had to cancel the show. But then he got sober, and then they did the new album, and then it didn't do well, right?
Yes. So, and there was a lot of reasons of why it didn't. Like, that's what it was. So, before they released it, it was supposed to be this big, huge release, right? Like, Days of the New is coming back, and this and that, and blah, blah, blah. It leaked online, and all the fans got it before it came out. And so he, like, completely went in, spiraled into this depression, started shooting up heroin again, and
the big thing that comes to mind immediately for me is that's 20 years, 21 years, something like that between releases. That's to be expected. I don't know if you're out there listening because you
haven't
never
really
know when
grown with
artists
music. If you take that big of a break, you haven't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like some people may not. There are so many artists these days too, and so much immediacy that it might be hard to actually be on people's radars. But if it helps, if you're out there listening, the fucking guitar work here is insane.
Yeah, he's amazing.
Some of the wildest shit ever. Like, I didn't expect, after listening to Jerry Cantrell, I didn't think I was going into another group. I was really thinking you had picked it because you'd heard some of it and thought, okay, well, Alice in Chains is definitely going to beat this group out because they had that one big hit. They did have 4 other hits off that album, so it's not fair. Or 3 other hits, something like that. Amazing work.
Well, yeah, a lot of stuff that you hear him play. I mean, he plays, his stuff is a lot more complex. Like, I would want to try to tackle an Alice in Chains album on guitar before I did Days of the New. But at the same time, it's like, if Alice in Chains just did unplugged albums and you put Jerry on there, or you just take Days of the New and, like I said, just throw Jerry and Lane on it, you have Alice in Chains Unplugged.
Yeah.
It seems like these two bands could blend very well together.
Yes. Would you say
like 100%.
They should collaborate?
They were planning on it, and then
I know.
You know,
I was trying to use one of our questions.
Oh, gotcha. So not that anyone's asking, but the music makes me feel like VH1 Storytellers went on to sign grunge artists to an official record label. And I would definitely say that this dude's up there. He's the guitarist for this band is the Lindsey Buckingham of grunge. He's on another level.
So he's not repetitive, right?
Don't look me in the eye when you say that.
You just like skull fucked her. God damn.
Better back off, man.
Any more notes?
Nope. Oh, wait. Actually, yes. Their original name was Dead Reckoning.
That's not a bad name.
No, I don't think so either.
My final eulogy here.
Sorry, I'm doing the backing noises for your eulogy.
I feel like Sturgill Simpson fans would be just as at home with this group as Blackmore's Night fans. There wound up being tinkering here on par with Roger Waters or Mike and the Mechanics, and the female vocal inclusions in that middle album are a perfect fit among the controlled chaos. I definitely think meandering riffs and lyrical repetition, I did not say repetitious riffs, by the way, Joseph, don't look at me like that. Meandering, right? Meandering riffs and lyrical repetition are the primary weaknesses, but they gave a dynamic range of experiences during this listen and managed above average consistency throughout, a real shocker all around for me. I did not expect to take anywhere near as much away from this group's listen as I did.
Well, with that being said, Shane, who won it for you this month, I should say?
It's extremely close. Like, their averages are a 100th away from each other.
Which
Days of the New had a few more songs. It's Days of the New.
All right.
Just barely.
Alice in Chains obviously took it for me.
Yeah.
Alice in Chains.
All right.
For sure. Now I hate you.
You don't have to hate me.
I feel better.
I've been dreading this moment. And now, because it's the end, just like the end of a good movie where the ending is bad, all you're going to remember is that Alice in Chains did not win for me.
Yep.
You won't remember any of Rayburn's bullshit.
Nope.
Yeah.
But that's going to do it for this week. Joseph, as always, it is an absolute pleasure to have you, regardless of how much I piss you off. I'm so glad that you were here to talk about Alice in Chains and Days of the New with us. I learned a lot, and hearing from someone that is passionate about their artist is always something that is extremely refreshing.
I had a question for you, so our listeners know before we go, because we covered Typo Negative and completely forgot to talk about the YouTuber who does the If So-and-so Sounds Like, because he does Alice in Chains alongside...
Typo Negative. If Typo Negative wrote Rooster, he does things like that, yeah.
What's his name?
Oh, shoot, man. I wish you wouldn't have asked me.
The dude with the super long hair.
It's Dan something.
Hey, here's an opportunity to pull your phone out.
I think it's Dan
Make
something.
the clicks that will make our podcast a success.
Dan.
Or we're driving traffic to that person.
We have to drive traffic to ourselves before we can drive
I know, that's what I'm saying.
Dennis, I don't know how to say his last name. You can give it a shot. Dennis what?
Pauna?
Yeah.
Pauna. Exquisite work. Like, he does every piece of the song, really tries to imitate the style of the other group and their covers.
And he does very good.
Yes.
It's insane.
Every piece of it sounds right.
Real quick before we kill this, because I know someone here or listening is a Heart fan, right?
I like Heart.
We both like
Okay. Ann Wilson?
Yes.
She did a song with Lane. She's featured on one of the albums. We didn't cover it though.
That would be worth hearing.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh, it's amazing. It's amazing. But anyway, yeah, check it out.
Okay.
Only 2 of the world's strongest vocalists.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Ann Wilson was in my super band. She was the female vocalist that would have been included. So, all right.
What about the, I had a beer and now I can't think, so I can't even land my jokes. I was going to say, what about the lead singer from that one group at the music video that your family clowns on you for?
Fucking, oh God, what is it? It might like me better if we slept together. I forget the name of the band now.
I feel like if I knew the name of the song, I'd know the name of the band, but it's okay.
I might like you better if we slept together. That's the name of the song. No, Never Say Never.
Never Say Never. It's Romeo Void.
Romeo
Wow.
Void.
Where did your title come from? That was nowhere near.
Oh, we're gonna go
She
watch
says,
this video.
You might like me better if we slept together.
Oh, okay. So she said that.
Never say never. Yeah.
All right.
Another month of Shane giving me shit about Romeo Void. Here we go. But before we move on, we need to talk about who we're covering next month.
Oh, we do, huh?
Yeah, we do.
That's a damn shame.
It is.
Oh, no, it's not.
Look at me. I am doing your job for you.
I got paperwork.
Is it Ray Charles and B.B. King?
No, I kind of wish it was, though. That would be good. That would be a good week. Speaking of 60 Sunday Soul.
Thank you, Joseph, for this month, by the way. I'm sorry, I'm still going through
He's
puberty.
getting
For what?
choked up.
I couldn't hear what you
It's
said.
okay, Shane.
I said thank you, Joseph, for this month. This was
okay.
This was a fun listen. I'd say thank you to Dawson as well, because he also had him in the top 10, Alice in Chains.
Oh, right on.
Next month.
Yeah, he's doing very good at guitar, by the way.
He is.
In case he listens to this.
Dottie.
Isn't he writing his own songs and stuff
Yeah,
now?
dude, he's really talented. He's like quickly moving on.
Keep doing it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So next month, we will be back with what we drew out of the jar was one of our friends, Sarah's top 10 artists, and that's Nicki Minaj. And I had her paired up against Drake. So Nicki Minaj albums we're listening to are Pink Friday from 2010, The Pink Print from 2014, and Queen from 2018. On the Drake side, if you're following along at home, Thank Me Later from 2010, Nothing Was the Same from 2013, and Views from 2016.
So wheelchairs and a whole lot of ass coming to you next month. Come and visit us on social media. Let us know what you think. And until next time, fill your world with music.
Did you just make a Degrassi joke?
Hey, Shane, whatever it takes, man. Come on.
You got anything you want to add?
No, I think she took it with wheelchairs. We're all good.
I know I
Hey,
can make it.
Hold on. I want this on tape, okay?
God, yeah.
Officially, because we laugh a lot in our house about the big hit. I want you to sing for me the very first line of Touch, Peel, and Stand.
If you wouldn't have asked me, I would have had it.
You know the lyrics?
Yes.
In my head, it's always... No, 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 no. Like it's like listening to Yellow Ledbetter. Like I have no idea what the fuck they're saying there. The rest of it's okay.
Oh my gosh.
You put the man on the spot.
Yeah,
He came to hang out.
It's funny because I've actually read the lyrics.
Oh,
like
yeah?
fully read them. So I knew every line. It's just I can only hear what you're saying now.
Touch me, touch me.
All right.